What's up guys, I'm Nomadic and I'm finally back. It's been a really long time. Haven't been on YouTube for years now, and I'm so sorry. I know you guys have been itching for some new videos. I actually was just busy with like grad school and stuff, so I didn't really have much time to do anything other than study. But now that I'm back, really happy to introduce a new video series for you guys. So this series is designed to actually gravitate a little bit away from the MPC, and this one's going to go into Ableton Live. And Ableton Live is actually an amazing program. I've been using it for probably 8 years now, but it wasn't until recently that I really got into it, and I found out a workflow to use Ableton Live super well. For those of you who don't know me, I'm really big on the MPC, so I still have, you know, my MPC 1000 right here, which is one of my favorite things to use to make beats. But you know, a lot of times there's some problems with it too, like it could be kind of slow. And with Ableton Live, the workflow is amazing. Like, I have this workflow now that I have set up. I can make beats that sound like MPC beats, and I can make them in like 5-10 minutes because this workflow is so good. So for those of you guys who are new to Ableton Live or haven't really used it a whole lot and are trying to learn how to use it, I made these videos because I want to help you guys get this really super advanced workflow that I love to use. I use the same workflow to make all my beats. It's an awesome workflow, and I hope you sit back and enjoy watching these videos. So just a quick note, all the beats in the beginning of all these videos, they're all beats from a record I made called Coffee. I put it up on Spotify, Apple Music, you know, all the streaming services. And what I did was I took the sounds from that kit and I used them all to create a sound kit, which is on my website, and I'm actually giving it out for free if you follow the link below. All you need to do is support the channel by following, and you'll be able to get it for free. Sounds are really good. I really spent time on making them really good, so definitely go snag it. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So today, very briefly, we're going to talk about kind of like the whole general setup of Ableton Live and just what you see when you first open the program and how to get your program set up. So let's get into it. Okay, so when you first open Ableton, it's going to look like this, okay? You're going to have a lot of stuff going on here. You're probably not going to really understand what's going on. Generally speaking, the way Ableton Live works is you have two screens, okay? You have this screen, which is called the session view, and the session view is actually the screen that kind of mimics the workflow of the MPC, and I'll explain how that works in a second. And the other screen is called the arrangement view, okay? The arrangement view, if you take a look at it, it's set up in a linear fashion, just like 90% of your DAWs are set up. The reason why Ableton is different than all the other DAWs is because of this session view right here. That's kind of like the thing that makes Ableton different, and that's actually the reason why I feel like this is the best DAW to use if you're used to the Ableton workflow, or the MPC workflow, my bad. So generally speaking, you have those two windows, and if you look over here on the left, this is your file browser. So all your sounds, Ableton comes with a bunch of sounds. It's all like right here, so you can kind of go through and search whatever you're looking for. Your drums, you know, a bunch of instruments it comes with. I'm gonna go through a bunch of these later in more detail. Mixing, audio effects, everything's over here. Your VST plugins are over there. And like I said in the beginning, for this whole video series, I'm gonna be using my kit, the Nomadic Coffee drum kit. So be sure to download that off my website so you can follow along, because these are the sounds I'm going to be using for this tutorial series. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of just this whole setup here. So basically you have two kinds of tracks, right? And in this screen you can view all the tracks that are going on. Right now I have one track, right? You have audio tracks and you have MIDI tracks. So right now I have an audio track set up. If you right click, you say insert MIDI track or insert audio track. You can add one or the other, whichever one you want. So what's the difference between the two, right? So basically, an audio track in Ableton, you want to have an audio track whenever you have like a sample, right? So it's like if you find any clip of just like straight like like .wave or .mp3, like just a clip of audio that you want to use on a track. That's when you'd use an audio track. MIDI tracks are whenever you want to have instruments. So it's like if you want to load like a virtual synthesizer, or actually anything on the left, if you go to instruments, these are all MIDI devices. So basically, like if you have a drum rack, or you want to use a synthesizer, or you want to actually load Ableton sampler into the program, you'd want to use a MIDI track, right? And again, like just watching these videos, it'll make a lot more sense like how all this stuff works. So audio tracks, MIDI tracks. Now the last thing I want to talk about is the master. The master track is basically every single thing, every single track at the end will go through the master. So it's like whatever you put on the master, that'll globally affect everything. So down here in this section, these are basically the audio effects for that track. And you just scroll down, find limiter, and I actually like fast. So I just drag and drop it on the master, which is right here. And that's it. So basically all this is doing is it's going to take all the audio and it's going to stop it right at 0 dB. So it's going to prevent it from clipping, and your overall sound is just going to sound a little bit better. So before we actually get started, the first thing we want to do is make sure that the audio is set up properly. You just want to go to options and you want to go to preferences. So there's a lot of things going on in the screen right here that I could get into much detail later on, but for the purpose of this video series, we're just trying to get you started making beats. So ignore like all this, just go straight to audio. And you want to ask yourself, where is your audio being generated? Do you have an external sound card? In my case, I'm using a Focusrite Scarlett 18i6. That's my sound card. I've been using that sound card forever. So for me, in my case, I would set the Focusrite as my audio interface. So right here, I would select ASIO, and then I would change it to Focusrite USB 2.0 audio driver. If I didn't have my sound card with me, I could still make beats with just my laptop. So what I would pick in that instance, I would choose ASIO, and my computer actually has a built-in ASIO driver, and I know Macs have this already built in, so it's pretty simple. So for me, I would choose the Realtek ASIO. You might have a different driver depending on what computer you have. And if your computer doesn't have a built-in ASIO driver, you got to go download something called ASIO for All, which is just basically an ASIO driver which is compatible with all Windows computers. Mac maybe, but if you have a Mac, again, it should already be built in, so you don't really need it. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. So for those of you guys who have never seen my videos, the way this series works is you start on the first episode, and progressively every single video is gonna have the same beat kind of like progress all the way till the end. So if you watch this whole video series through, you'll be able to start with not really knowing how to use Ableton, but you'll end off with the beat actually finished. And if you watch all the episodes, you'll be able to see like how to use Ableton Live if you've never used it before, or at least the workflow that I use. So that's kind of the way that this series works. The next episode, we're going to talk about warping, which is a huge feature that Ableton Live can do really well that I've never seen other DAWs do quite as well as Ableton. So be sure to check that out.